But anyway, looking at the formula for productivity. Productivity is units produced divided by inputs used. So it's a measure of process improvement. And, as I said, it's output basically divided by input. It's difficult to measure productivity in services because it's labor intensive. It's frequently focused on unique individual attributes, or it's often an intellectual task performed by professionals. But I actually disagree with this a little bit, because if you think about, as I said, like a restaurant, it's how many meals can you serve per hour. That matters, even with service, right? And then if you think about doctors, like how many patients can they see per day, they're measured on that, especially when you look going into the larger doctors' offices, right, or medical practice. They're churning patients in and out, right? So you don't get that one-on-one time that you used to get with a doctor where you could sit down and talk to them for 30 minutes. Now you're in and out of there in 10. Right? And you hopefully you covered everything that was important. So even in services, they are driving productivity. So if you think about Starbucks, this is a good example. Sometimes you're going to Starbucks and the lines are long, right? I've been using McDonald's, but think about Starbucks as well for those who drink coffee, or even Dunkin' Donuts, right? So a team of 10 analysts are continuously looking for ways to shave time. While some of the improvements they made, if you use your credit card or your debit card to make a purchase, right, you don't need to sign for it anymore. And in some cases, you don't even need to enter your PIN. You just hold up your phone, and it uses Apple Wallet or Apple Pay or whichever, Google Pay, right? Whatever service is on your phone, you just pay and walk out the door. There's even an app now where you can order ahead of time, and you just come and look for your name and you order and you pick it up and you keep it moving, right? So they're always looking for ways on how can they reduce the amount of time it takes for a customer to place an order and pick it up or get served and move on with their day. So just by not requiring signatures, they're able to save 8 seconds per transaction. What that led to was they were able to increase their revenue, right, per outlet up to $1 million, and productivity increased 27%, or about 4.5% per year. And that's the thing to remember when you're looking at productivity. It's not how much can you milk the worker, right? How much more can you get out of them? Sometimes it's also how much more revenue can the company make, right? So the faster you're able to produce, the less people will walk out the door because they're frustrated. It took them too long to get served. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing too is, yes, it's about the business owner and the company. But then if a company makes more revenue, assuming you get a bonus, you'll get more out of it. You'll get a bigger bonus, right? And then it also translates to not just a bigger bonus, but also a higher salary if the company is doing well. So it's not just about, as I said, companies working you, the student or the employee. It trickles down to you as well. So labor productivity is about units produced divided by labor hours used. So I produced 1,000 burgers. I was able to serve 1,000 burgers during lunch. 250 hours were used to make the 1,000 burgers. So the output or the productivity is 4 units per labor hour. So this is considered single factor productivity because it's just one thing we're focusing on, one input and one output. Multi-factor productivity looks at all the different all the different inputs that going to produce in that single output. So it looks at how much labor was used, how much material, how much energy, how much capital, and so on. All the different inputs that produce that single output. And that's multi-factor productivity. So here's an example. Gibson Valves produces cast bronze valves on an assembly line. If 1,600 valves are produced in an 8-hour shift, the productivity of the line is what? So here the output is 1,600 valves, and the labor use, right, is 8 hours. So it's the 1,600 divided by the 8 to give you 200 valves per hour, which is number D. Okay? So it's units produced divided by labor hours used. Another example. A foundry produces circular utility, access hatches, manhole covers. If 120 covers are produced in a 10-hour shift, the productivity of the line is what? So the number of units produced or the output is 120 covers divided by the 10-hour shift. So it's 120 divided by 10 to give you 1.2, which is A. I was just about to say any questions, but I forgot you're not really seeing me. So anyway, I know you can't answer either, right? But anyway, units produced. Here's this one is multi-factor productivity. We've produced 5,000 units. Standard price is $30 per unit. Labor input is 500 hours. Cost of labor is $25 an hour. Cost of materials is $5,000. And cost of overhead is 2 times the labor cost. So this has a lot of different inputs, one output. So the output we know is 5,000 units were produced. So how do you calculate the multi-factor output here? So it's output, which is a 5,000 units, times the $30 per unit, divided by the labor cost, 500 hours were worked, times $25 per hour, plus the $5,000 for the material, plus the overhead, which was 2 times the 500 hours work times the $25, which is the labor cost. So if we go back again, 5,000 units, the cost is $30 per unit. Labor input is $500 at a cost of $25 per hour. Materials were $5,000, and your fixed overhead, or just your overhead, is 2 times the labor cost. So with that, the output is 5,000 times the $30 per unit, which is $150,000. My labor cost is 500 hours times $25 per hour. My material plus 5,000. My overhead is 2 times the labor cost, which gives me 42,500. So my multi-factor productivity here is 3.5. Think about, am I improving in my productivity or not improving in my productivity? This is considered productivity growth. Are we more productive this year than we were last year? Are we more productive now than we were back in, I don't know, 2000 or 1920? So the formula for productivity growth is current productivity minus previous productivity divided by previous productivity times 100%. So here in the example, it's labor productivity on the ABC assembly line was 25 units per hour in 2014. In 2015, labor productivity was 23 units per hour. What was the productivity growth from 2014 to 2015? Productivity growth here is 23 minus 25 divided by 25. So once again, in 2014, we were producing 25 units per hour. In 2015, it dropped to 23 units per hour. So you already know that just looking at that, there was a decline in productivity. The question is how much of a decline? And it's the 23 minus 25 divided by 25 times 100 to give you minus 8%. So there's a minus 8% decline in productivity from 2014 to 2015. One more example, and then I'll just scroll through so you can see the other examples I have, and you can take your time to work through them. What I would like for you to do, students, is as I'm showing examples, I'm not going to be able to go through all of them in the video because then the video will be like an hour long, which I don't want to do because then I'll lose you. But I'll allow enough time so that you can pause the video and then take your time and work through the problems. And that's how you will learn, right? I'll give a ton of examples when I'm doing my videos, my video lectures, and then you'll just take your time, pause the video and then work through the problem until you get the answers that are posted on the screen. So Susan has a part-time business producing seasonal plywood yard ornaments for sale at local craft fairs and bazaars. She currently works 8 hours per day to produce 16 ornaments. What's her productivity? And then she thinks that by redesigning the ornaments and switching from the use of wood glue to hot glue, she can increase her total ornaments from 16 ornaments per day to 20 hours per day. And then what's her percentage increase in productivity? So what's her new productivity? And then what's her increase in productivity? So the first question is what's her productivity? It's 16 ornaments divided by the 8 hours that she's working. So she's doing 2 ornaments per hour. If she gets to 20 ornaments per day, it's the 20 ornaments divided by 8 hours. That's 2.5 hour ornaments per hour. And then change in productivity is the 2.5 minus 2 to give you 0.5, right? Divided by 2 to give you 25%. So she's improved by 25%. Here's another example. And another example. This one is a long. This one has more parts. It has 4 parts. And then another example. Another. You don't have to work through all the examples, but try and do a few just to get a feel for it. So, it's good, when you're running an organization, to establish reasonable goals. Of course, you always want to improve and you want to do better, but it's a matter of at what cost. And that's it on this lecture. Have a great week, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.